Hello, welcome to the first video that I have filmed in my pyjamas. Not counting reading vlogs, because that's a bit different because I read mostly at night when I'm in my pyjamas, so that's okay. But this is the first actual sit down, I'm gonna actually review some books video where I'm wearing pyjamas, and I'm sorry. I would get dressed and make some effort with my face and, you know, whatever, but it's 2 AM and I feel like filming it now and I cannot be bothered to get dressed and then get back in my pyjamas, so this is what you're getting. Take it or leave it. So today, me in my pyjamas are bringing you my February wrap-up. I will be talking about all of the books that I read in February, and it is quite a hefty pile, I'm not gonna lie. I'm pretty proud of this little stack of books. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. I read 11 books in February, and I think that's the most books I've read in a single month in literal years. I can check my Goodreads stats, but I haven't read over 10 books in a month for like years. And I think I read so much because I had lots of reading vlogs this month, and we also had Wilsathon, which was a Jackie Wilson readathon, where you read as many books as you can, and obviously Jackie Wilson books are fairly easy and accessible and also short, so that probably helped with my higher number this month. But you know what, I'm still proud of myself. And I don't know how in-depth this wrap-up is going to be because, like I said, I did 3 reading vlogs in the month of February, so a lot of my thoughts on these books are already documented in those reading vlogs. So this is going to be mostly a kind of Cliff Notes version, and of course I'll link the relevant reading vlogs for the books in this video in the description below, so that if you want more detailed thoughts, you can go and watch those reading vlogs. The first book I finished in the month of February was A Gentleman by Any Other Name, which is a historical Regency romance that I read for a trying my first ever Regency romance reading vlog, which obviously will be linked below or somewhere you will find it. But spoiler alert, if you haven't watched that video yet, I didn't enjoy it. I don't think Regency is quite my thing, and I think it just boils down to sexist vibes, you know? I love history, I love studying history, so, you know, historical inspired fiction should be right up my street, but I just didn't enjoy this love interest because he was kind of this big, you know, strong man who taught this woman about, like, sex, and, you know, she was innocent and virginal and he kind of, like, had his way with her. Like, it was consensual, but, like, it just kind of felt a bit like he was the heathen and she was the untouched virgin, and it was just very much like that sort of archetype that is quite predictable, and once you read it once you kind of don't really need to keep seeing it again and again. And that's kind of the association that I have with a lot of Regency or historical romance. I think Outlander also kind of falls into that a little bit, except the main character in Outlander has a bit more to her. She's like a doctor, and, you know, when she goes back in time, she's a healer and she kind of speaks up for herself, and that's why she's seen as like a witch, you know. So yeah, this wasn't entirely for me, and if you want more in-depth thoughts about what this book is about and what happens in it, you can go and watch my reading vlog. I talk about it in a lot of detail and laugh at some of the ridiculous parts. And the next book I haven't talked about anywhere else, so this is brand new information. You're welcome, exclusive, you heard it here first. But the next book I finished in February was Little Threats by Emily Schultz, and it is dusty as heck. And this book takes place in the chaotic haze of the 90s, and we follow these 2 teenage girls who were teenagers in the 90s called Kennedy and Carter, and they are named after US presidents, so obviously their family kind of expects a lot of them. It's like a very middle class, suburban, idyllic sort of American dream type family. They're like Republicans, old money, and they expect a lot of their children. And these teenage girls are experimenting a lot with, you know, drinking and smoking and, you know, being little teen rebels, and they're listening to a lot of punk music, and a lot of that music is like mentioned explicitly in the text. There's like different playlists and different songs that are mentioned, so I feel like if you want a more like immersive reading experience, you could go and listen to the songs mentioned. It would put you right in that kind of like 90s teenage like rebel girl headspace. But then during one night of heavy drinking and smoking, the 2 twins meet up with this local college boy who's kind of way too old to be hanging out with them, and another one of their friends called Haley, and then after this night Haley is dead. Haley's body is found the next day, and then suspicion quickly falls on Kennedy, one of the twin girls, and because Kennedy can't quite remember what happened because of the drink and the drugs and all of this, she is sent to prison and she doesn't have a good alibi, and she is convicted on like a very small piece of circumstantial evidence, which is a copy of Jane Eyre that's found in her room, where I think, I've not read Jane Eyre so I don't exactly know the reference it's talking about, but I think in the book of Jane Eyre there's a character called Helen, and Kennedy had circled this character and like written Haley. You know what kids do, like, you know, when you watch a show or you read a book and they're like, oh, that character's me and that character's you, and like blah blah blah. Like when me and my friends got really obsessed with Pretty Little Liars, I attached myself to Spencer, and like we used to call each other Spencer and Arya, and like the names of the characters in the show. It's lame, but like teens do that. But because Kennedy had likened her friend to Helen in Jane Eyre, and I believe that Helen in Jane Eyre dies, they thought this was like very suspicious, and obviously like along with the fact that Kennedy was the last person to see her and that they're best friends, and it's kind of, and she can't remember what happened, it all starts to look very suspicious. So anyway, that was a very long preamble, but this book picks up like 10 years later, where Kennedy is being released out of prison, and I think she got a lesser sentence because she was a minor or because they didn't have like proper DNA evidence, I'm not sure, but she is released from prison, and it follows her journey back home and trying to like assimilate into normal family life. But at the same time that Kennedy is released, a local kind of true crime TV show slash podcast, I think it's a TV show, they pick up the case and they start looking into different leads and try and figure out, you know, what actually happened. At first I wasn't sure what I thought of this book because it took quite a while to grow on me. I read it quite quickly, it's very fast paced, but I just didn't know how I felt about it, and I think it's because it had lots of different perspectives. So there wasn't really one character that I latched onto, there wasn't one narrative voice that's leading you through the story. It kind of switches between Kennedy and her twin sister, and then the brother of the girl that was murdered, that was found dead. And the chapters are quite short, so because you're switching, it's kind of hard maybe at the beginning to invest and like really latch onto a character and get a sense of who they are, but obviously this got better as the book got on. Although I never really got a definitive read on Kennedy, like you kind of get an insight of what she's like as a rebellious teenager, and that's fairly kind of archetypal, very stereotypical, but I wanted a bit more of her trying to assimilate after prison. Like she comes home and just kind of goes about life as normal, like she doesn't try to really investigate, she just kind of gets a job, settles down, tries to repair her relationship with her twin sister, as you know, there's a bit of suspicion there, but she's not like, you know, raging, she's not angry that she got put away for a crime she didn't do. I mean, I think part of her isn't sure whether or not she did it, let's be honest, but she's not kind of wanting to get revenge on the people that put her away, she's not wanting to find the truth, she just kind of comes out of prison and just like assimilates back into real life, and there's no real sense of like anger or injustice, and a lot of the kind of searching for justice comes from this true crime show that starts to like dig things back up again. And obviously once new information is presented to the sisters, they start to, you know, help and become intrigued with what's going on as well. But I did want a little bit more agency from the sisters themselves, but I also understand the other side of the coin where like you just want to let things lie after like a traumatic event like that's happened. Like perhaps Kennedy just wanted to come out of prison and just like forget about everything, but that wasn't kind of explicitly obvious, so I just wanted a little bit more of a read on her. But maybe again that's the point, I don't know, because so many times in like true crime cases, like the murderer or the suspect is like really sensationalized and you want to know every little detail about them, and maybe by not giving you every little detail about Kennedy, this book is being like, you don't need to know every detail, like don't like sensationalize her. So I think the characters were a little bit flat for me, but one aspect of the book that I really loved and I thought was really strong was just like the media response to like a huge true crime case. I watched a lot of true crime, and there's a lot of aspects of the community that aren't great and are problematic and do cause issues for, you know, victims and also people that are suspects and then, you know, get released. Like their lives are never really the same after that, just even if they're not charged, their name is always going to be associated with this huge case. And you see that happening to Kennedy's sister Carter, because obviously Kennedy's the one that went to prison, but then Carter had to just carry on living her normal life, and everyone in their little town knew what her sister had done and knew who she was because they looked the same. So it's like, you can never really escape, even when things are over and things have been solved and the truth comes out, essentially. And I really liked that element of the book. For example, there's a section of the book where they're selling their house and like some really creepy people come to view the house, and like this guy goes up to Kennedy's teenage bedroom and like starts masturbating in there, and they find him obviously and throw him out. But the book is quite unflinching about portraying the kind of darker elements of like the true crime community, and it really makes you question like people's fascination with these crimes and the people that do them and the people that are associated with them. So yeah, actually I think, you know, the more that I've talked about it in this video, I think I probably like it more than when I first finished it. I think maybe I was a little bit underwhelmed because, like I said, I wanted a bit more of a read on the characters, but I really liked the themes in it, and the ending did surprise me when like the truth eventually comes out, so this is one that I would recommend. And next up, I read 3 steamy romance novels for my, you know, trying out steamy romance reading vlog, and obviously the reading vlog will be linked below. So I'm really not going to go into too much detail because I've spoken about these books quite a lot recently, and you can obviously watch that video. But I read Get a Life, Chloe Brown, The Kiss Quotient, and The Roommate. I'm holding these in a really weird way. And I think my definite favourite was Get a Life, Chloe Brown, because as I've said before, I love sisters, and that book has 3 sisters, and Chloe is one of the sisters, and the next 2 books in the series follow each of her other sisters, and I am quite excited to read those, and I think I definitely will at some point. But The Kiss Quotient was also great for autism rep, because I don't often see that in books, and I think it was done really well. And the male protagonist of The Roommate is a porn star, and there's some quite interesting commentary on the porn industry and the sex industry in this book, which obviously like is quite interesting, because I think I often misjudged romance as just kind of fluffy, easy to read books, you know, just like some light enjoyment that's great but like doesn't give you much more. And I'm not just mental of that, like there are so many books that I read just for fluffy fun, and there are so many TV shows that I come back to just for fluffy fun, but I don't think I was expecting like some of the harder topics that come up in these books. For example, like, Chloe is chronically ill and really struggles with that, and her love interest Red has just come out of like an abusive relationship, and then in The Kiss Quotient, Stella really struggles with her autism and really struggles with like the physical side of relationships. She really struggles with like the physical aspect of sex, and she doesn't find it comfortable. And then in The Roommate, the main character Josh, you know, has a lot of issues with the porn industry and like his job and being viewed a certain way by society, by women, and that was really interesting. So don't be like me, don't dismiss the romance genre as just fluffy and like, entertainment. There is more there if you look for it. And my last 6 reads of February were the books that I read for the Wilsathon, the Jacqueline Wilson readathon. The week of the readathon was honestly like the highlight of my year so far. I had so much fun revisiting my childhood favourites and also reading some new Jacqueline Wilson books, and oh, just impeccable. All the vibes. The new books I read as part of the readathon were My Mom, Tracy Beaker, and We Are the Beaker Girls, and I really enjoyed both of these. I loved seeing Tracy again, like so much fun. And then my rereads were My Sister Jodie, Midnight, Sleepovers, and Girls in Love. I had so much fun. I honestly could just carry on rereading Jacqueline Wilson books for the rest of the year. I have enough to keep me going, and I might, you know, because there are so many that I want to reread. Like I really want to read Love Lessons. I know a few of the girls reread that one because it has some problematic elements, and you know, it's interesting to view it differently as a grown-up. I also really wanted to get to The Illustrated Mum because that has some really good bipolar representation, and obviously when I read it as a kid I didn't know what that was, and I would love to read that again as an adult and really truly appreciate it. But yeah, if you want more detailed thoughts on each of these books and you want to know more about them, obviously my Wilsathon vlog will be linked below. And those are all the books that I read in February. I'm really proud of myself for reading 11 books. I'm not sure I can keep it up because a lot of the books that I have planned for March are not sweet, fun, thin Jacqueline Wilson books that I love reading. I say sweet and fun, but a lot of Jacqueline Wilson books are really hard to read, so. But as always, let me know what you've been reading in the comments, and if you've read any of the books that I read this month, you know, let me know what you thought. I'm always open to comments. I love getting comments. Just that little red notification at the top of my YouTube page makes me so happy. Thank you so much for watching, and I will see you soon with another video soon. Bye.